Hi, Gordon here with another edition of the Unscripted Series. And this week I'm going to talk about the business aspects of instrument building or ukulele building in this case. I've got a lot of thoughts running through my head, and I fear that this is going to be a little bit unorganized, but we'll just see how it comes out. I think that a lot of the thoughts that I have apply to almost any small business, actually. And, the first one of those is don't get into it with money as your objective. And I'm not saying that you cannot make a living in a small business and make a living making instruments, but I'm saying that if that is your objective and the reason for doing it, you're doing it for the wrong reasons. The fact is that any small business is a lot of work. Why? Well, because a small business doesn't have a lot of leverage. As a business gets larger and generates more revenue, it can afford to hire in administrative functions. Everything from people to do your taxes, to people that do shipping and receiving for you and ordering of parts, all sorts of things. And you, in a big business, you've got departments that handle that. But in a small business, typically the owner does a lot of those things. And that's certainly the case at Mya-Moe. I do all of our taxes, ordering of parts, the administration of the business. As you know, Shar and I do the website, the database work ourselves. So, it's just not a big enough business where you can afford to hire those things out if you wanted to. So when you get into a business like this, it really is a full-time venture. The work never stops. There's just a point at which you say, okay, enough is enough. I got to go to bed now. So I think that's my first, observation or hint. The other one is, and this applies to a lot of things, but it takes money to make money. I think that people that get into a small business and are cash starved have a challenge on their hands. And the fact is that statistically, most small businesses that go out of business do so because they run out of cash. They don't have enough money to what's called capitalize themselves. They don't have enough money for operations. And there are times where you have to invest in the business. You've got to buy, in our case, tooling, or you've got to buy wood. And in the early days, we had to buy those things before we had any income. And we had to, in order to get good prices, we had to be able to commit to and often pay for a lot of those things in volume and in advance. But if you're able to do that, and suddenly, when we were in a position to say, we're going to buy 100 sets of wood or 100 sets of tuners, when you're in a position to do that, suddenly you're getting better service from your suppliers and you're getting better deals. And so it's one of those vicious cycles that feeds on itself, and it can feed on itself in either direction. So, as I say, another one of my hints is it takes money to make money. Another thing that I think you have to look at very carefully is when you're looking at the pricing of your product and the cost of your product, I think you've got to really have a long-term vision with that. My best example is last year when we decided to design our own bridge. Now, prior to that, we were buying a bridge that was made in quantity, and it was being made overseas, and we could buy the bridge and the saddle for in the neighborhood of $4 or $5 each, and that's what was built into the cost of the product. Well, when we decided to design our own, not only did we have the upfront cost of designing that bridge, but then the ongoing cost. So suddenly we had to buy our own ebony or maple for the bridge, and then we have to take that and prepare it for the machine that machines the bridge, the CNC machine. Then we have to pay for the machining of the bridge. Then we have to pay, or we have to clean that bridge up after it's been machined, and we have to put finish on it. All of those things were done for us before when we bought it in quantity. So suddenly a bridge that was costing $4 or $5 each costs us somewhere between $25 and $30. So it was a very large increase in the materials price of our ukulele. And at the time, we did that without raising the price to our owner. So, what's the logic behind that? Well, when we looked at the ukulele and we looked at where are we going to take it, I've told you that we're always evolving the design and we're mindful of, what area in it needs work. And when we looked at it, when we had put some curves in the instrument on the end of the fretboard and on the end of the headstock and done other minor design elements that really refined the look of the instrument. And when we looked at it, the bridge was the one thing in my mind that kind of stood out. It just didn't quite fit the way we wanted it to fit. And so to me, that was an important investment. Also, having a bridge that is uniquely ours. It's such an integral part of the instrument that that was something we really wanted. And then later on, we did raise the price. And I think part of the reason, I don't want to raise prices until I'm comfortable that what we're selling exceeds in value what we're charging for it. I always want to feel like we are delivering more than we're charging for. So I wanted to get to a point with the instrument that I felt like it was, it was at a point where we could raise the price. But the point of all that is that we put the money into the bridge not knowing if we were going to raise the price, and we did it because it was the right thing to do. And I think when a business becomes focused on the bottom line, it is in trouble. And now and you could warp my words and you could show me where they don't really apply, or you could say, Gordon, gosh, you've got to be focused on the bottom line. Well, I think like a lot of things, it is a very fine line between success and failure. Yes, we look at the bottom line. Yes, every year I look at the financials in a lot of detail, and I'm looking at them every month and every quarter. I like to know where we are. But when I say focused on the bottom line, I'm really talking about a business that starts becoming more concerned about cost than about value and delivering value to the end customer. I think that when you start to focus on costs, if we were to bring in a financial expert, they would say, look where I can save you money. I can cut this and cut this and cut this. Well, I think our quality would deteriorate in some cases. And I think when that happens, suddenly you're taking momentum and a kind of curve that's going like this, where you're increasing value to the customer and increasing what you're delivering. And suddenly, I think you're in danger of the momentum going the other way. And then you've got a spiral downwards. And you've got something that I call you're trying to catch a falling knife. And it's a position I don't want to be in. I always want to be in a position where we can add more value. Now, there are commodity businesses that can't look at it that way. And I get that. So I'm talking about businesses like ours. And certainly I prefer to be part of a business where we can have value, we can have differentiation, we can have unique differentiation, and we can continue to improve that and drive that. So when I think about the business of instrument building, that's really what I think of. It's a fun business to be in. I love what we do, and I love being able to deliver more and more value to our owners, and that's what we're going to continue to do. So there's a little digression away from our normal Lutherie topics. I like to talk about business every once in a while, probably do it again sometime. But next week, I think I'll be back in the shop with you, and I'll see you then. Bye-bye.